When it comes to grooming mountain bike trails, the SnowDog has become the go-to machine. With a good operator, it can snake its way through tight and twisting single track, creating a winter paradise for fat bikes and cross-country skiers. However, the SnowDog was not originally designed for grooming single track, and a few modifications can greatly improve its performance. I met up with a trail builder, groomer, and general fun hog to hear about some of his modifications.
First of all, the handlebar felt way too narrow, and just trying to muscle to keep it upright, I wanted a wider handlebar. I didn't know how wide I wanted. Too wide, it limits where it'll go in the woods. And I didn't want to weld something on and have to keep changing it, so I had a mountain bike steer tube welded on, so that I then could put a stem on it and a regular mountain bike handlebar. And this way I can easily switch out different sizes, different shapes, try different handlebars with it quite easily. Also, if I get stuck because it's too wide, I can easily loosen it up and turn it. I was also able to keep all the electronics, electrical stuff down on the lower bar. They're more protected down here and less work. I can switch out bars easily, just take these off and leave that all there. At the same time that I did this mod, I wanted to try different pivot locations. The handlebar pivot used to be one of these 3 spots. It does change how it feels in these different spots, but it was basically to change the height. I tried different locations. This is my current sweet spot, getting it more towards the center of the machine, more towards the engine, center of gravity, and more towards the top to help have some leverage to keep it upright. What I found as part of that is it changes dramatically how it steers. It turns, so it pivots more in the center instead of at the end, so you're shortening the turn that'll do, plus I'll shorten the overall length of it by about 13 inches.
With the handlebars mounted 13 inches further forward, Glenn then built an adjustable stop for the handlebars to rest on.
Nylon washers, lock nuts on either side, so I can easily raise and lower it. And I also wanted to get the stop as far to the rear as I could, so that when I'm pushing down, I'm pushing here, not here.
Glenn found the stock handlebars to be too flexible, so he added angled steel to reinforce them.
I think changing the pivot location and my new stop aggravated it even more, so we welded this piece on the top. The more horizontal this is, the easier it is to turn. You get up here and it's not as solid as it is down here. It's easier to turn in certain conditions with the front end up.
The next modification that Glenn made completely changed the way the hitch was attached to the SnowDog. His new hitch moves the attachment point to the center of the machine on each side. The design provides a 2-axis pivot. It moves up and down at the machine's center attachment, and the sled can pivot side to side where it is pinned. But the hitch does not allow the SnowDog to tip side to side independent of the sled being pulled.
The old hitch used to be kind of like a pintle hook, and whatever you're standing on moved completely independently of the sled. So everything is upper body muscle. This hitch, which wasn't my idea, someone else had come up with, and I don't know who, it separates. The up and down pivot is here at the front, and the side-to-side pivot is here. But I can make the machine in softer snow, shifting my weight will move the machine. I can see it rock back and forth as I rock back and forth. 2 of these were bolts right through the frame. We just took out the original bolts. If the machine weighed 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, it would be a disaster because it would throw you all over the place. But where it's so light, you can control it quite well with this hitch.
Glenn has made a few additional changes to allow a second person to ride on the front of the machine. He said the machine climbs best at slow speeds, but the extra weight greatly increases traction.
I was out grooming one day when my wife was snowshoeing, and I'm like, climb on the front, let's see what this will do. And so she kind of just sat on the front, and I crawled up over this hill, and night and day difference. So it was just very tough to stay on it. So I made some handles, and just recently put on a bumper to protect the machine some. It also gives me handhold if I do get stuck versus reaching in one-handed. Plus it gives her a footrest. So lowering my ballast.
Besides the bumper and handholds, Glenn also added a piece of webbing that is hidden under the cover for Lori to sit on.
The little bumper helps a lot, makes a huge difference that I have a place to put my feet. Before I was trying to hold them up and felt like I was going to fall off. Hence he put the handles on first, which was nice.
Glenn later talked about the different sleds that can be pulled behind the SnowDog. For a normal day of grooming, he mostly uses the single-track groomer. When the snow gets deep, he takes out the cargo sled because it pulls through the snow easier. Then he goes back out with the single-track groomer to put down some nice corduroy. He is also experimenting with a kick sled design that he is building with short skis. The kick sled moves through the snow much more efficiently. It is also much easier to kick or walk behind than the other sleds. Glenn was constantly changing his position on the sled, sometimes kicking to help the machine climb, sometimes moving a foot forward to encourage the sled to plow more, to fill in footprints or holes. Glenn's final thoughts pointed to the simple fact that grooming is challenging.
Use some patience. There's a learning curve to it, to not fight it. You kind of somewhat let the machine do what it does. But also do these mods. It's night and day difference of how this thing handles now.
Thanks for watching, and let us know in the comments below about your own modifications. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you out on the trails.